Now I'll be giving a brief introduction about our chief guest. I am profoundly delighted to take an opportunity to introduce the chief guest for the day. He is none other than Professor Anil Sir, Professor of Mechanical Engineering at IIT Guwahati, is currently a chairman of All India Council for Technical Education. Other than this, he is also chairman of the Empowered Basic Science Research Committee of the UGC. He has been bestowed with several awards, which include Maha Entrepreneur Award 2011 of Praj Industries, Jivan Gaurav Puraskar, that is Lifetime Achievement Award from MIT World Peace University, Pune in 2019, Mahatma Gandhi Leadership Award from Indian Achiever Forum and CSR Time 2019. We are very grateful to Professor Anil Sir for accepting our invitation and marking his presence here. I now invite him to enlighten the audience with his words before we proceed with the event. Up to you, sir.
Dr. Jugal Devaiji and also Dr. Priyanka Sharma, who initially spoke very short but very sweetly about the entire program itself. We
Thank
are,
you, sir.
we are indeed happy that the Rashtriya Raksha University applied for a Atal program on faculty development on a very, very important topic, and that is intelligent data analytics for critical infrastructure security. I think which other university or institution would have been better than yours? And therefore, there was no choice for AICT but to adopt and then ask Rashtriya Raksha University to conduct this very important program, faculty development program, which will empower all the faculty members in this very, very crucial area. I was given to understand in the beginning that there are 10 schools in Rashtriya Raksha University, all associated with Raksha. Raksha, that is defense, be it in land, be it on water, be it in air. That means we have to protect our land boundaries, we have to protect our waters, that is all the seas and oceans that India is endowed with, and also the air. And that is why Rashtriya Raksha University, with specialized programs, is training people for these areas. But it is not good enough that only one university conducts programs of this nature. We need to involve many other institutions onto this platform. And during this particular FDP, there are 14 experts from both India and abroad, more than 100 participants. And what was exciting was not only the lectures will be video recorded and would be made available to all of us later, but most importantly, the edited book which is going to come out after that. That is very, very significant. And I think that will become a huge reading material for all of us in this particular domain. And therefore, I really am happy that such a FDP program is being held on this particular occasion. And very interestingly, yesterday was Raksha Bandhan. We all tie Rakhi to each other to protect ourselves, our sisters, our nation. And armed force people are also being given Rakhi by several people, NGOs. So when we are talking about Raksha Bandhan, and just one day later, we are having this Rashtriya Raksha University's program on FDP. Now coming to the areas which are going to be covered, Madam Sharma already said about whether it is physical, mental, and spiritual. In fact, some of the words which I wanted to use, Madam has already taken thunder out of that. In fact, this is very important. We always think about physical security in most of the cases. Our armed forces and our various people, in terms of wherever the bombs are planted, they have to be detected, and therefore several systems, series of cameras being there on the streets, in very important installations, who is coming in and who is going out, checking their physical, the on the body, in the luggage that they are carrying. We have so many scanners put in. We go to a 5-star hotel, before we enter, the automobile, that is car or the vehicle, is checked by using mirror. I think there are all variety of physical checking which are happening, both in terms of our, physically on the body itself or on the bags itself, but also in terms of looking at people, their behavior, in terms of what we say image processing, and then try to detect if there is any suspicious movement of objects or people. And this is also done by using satellites. Satellite imagery also helps us in terms of checking where there are possible risks involved. So all of these are physical, and certainly we must concentrate on all variety of physical modes. And we all know that there are very important infrastructures which are available in the country. For example, nuclear, in Bhabha Atomic Research Center in Mumbai, which has not only power generation, but high-end research in atomic energy. And there are also a lot of radioisotopes which are going to be created. And there are, thorium-based or the uranium-based, whatever energy production is happening. If there is any catastrophe because of some bad incident, there will be huge loss to the man and men and women and also animals and plant life. And therefore, nuclear installations are the most important infrastructure. There are many power plants like in Kaiga, there is also near Chennai. So all of these are going to be very, very sensitive installations or infrastructure where you need to have physical security, which is so important. And similarly, space installation, whether you call it as ISRO Center in Bangalore or Thiruvananthapuram or Balasore, from where launch of satellites takes place, I think all of them are again critical infrastructure in terms of space. Same is the case with a lot of laboratories of DRDO. We have our parliament was attacked a few years ago. And therefore, not only these four important things like nuclear, space, DRDO, and parliament, but we have huge number of industries, be it auto industry, aerospace industry, steel industry, all variety of mobile towers. We are talking about 4G to 5G now. And therefore, all these installations will cripple the life. Transportation. For example, in a city like Mumbai, if the local trains are suddenly stopped, whole thing will come into chaos. Of course, during pandemic, we had no choice but to close down the trains. But otherwise, when normal things are happening, a single day of rainfall, heavy rainfall also used to put the city of Mumbai out of gear. And therefore, if any tragedy happens on the rail track or anywhere for that matter, not only on metros, but also on local trains, but also in the distance trains, the life will become very, very, critically affected. And therefore, it is all variety of infrastructure, even colleges and universities. If one of the major research institution is affected because of security reasons, I think many students will not only lose life, but a lot of research that is happening will also come to a grinding halt. And therefore, as I said, continuously physical cleaning up of everything and secured atmosphere being there is important. It is also there on the borders, be it in the Pakistan-India border or China-India border, or where we don't feel so much of threat, but still there is possibility of infiltration of people who are illegal citizens who are coming in from other countries, try to become citizens here, is also a threat to the nation. And therefore, all variety of physical checking by police, armed forces, CRPF, army is certainly important. Same is the case with waters. It's such a huge sea line that India has, except in the northern belt. Rest of that is all covered by sea. And therefore, there are attacks possible from the sea route, and therefore checking that physically is also important. Air is also important because there could be attack. We have to have a counter attack. If a missile is coming in, how we can kill it well, it is in the space itself. So therefore, as I said, land, water, and air, all of that is significant in physical ways. But the next two things which Madam Sharma pointed out are equally important. It is the mental and the spiritual. The mental, because it is ultimately all this happens because of some activity that is happening in the mental frame of the human being. The people who take up terrorism, they have all been indoctrinated by some ideology or the other, which is wrong, but they are not realizing it. And therefore, a role of the mental security is also important. How we can take care of that will start from, in fact, there is a very powerful saying that it is the education which will change the mindset. And the education starts since birth. And we in India also are aware that it starts in the womb of the mother itself. The story of Abhimanyu is known. So he knew how to enter into the Chakravyuha, but didn't know how to come out of that. But therefore, at the level of pregnancy itself, the mother has to be one who has to be always thinking positively. That mental attitude of the mother will be transmitted to the baby. And when the baby is born, from then initial years, it is the mother. And then the later, little bit later, father, the brothers, sisters, the grandparents, they are there at home. They all make a mental makeup of a human being. And from there on, once one enters into a nursery or KG or schooling, and then high school to college to university, I think these are formative years. Till about 18 to 20, our mental makeup is more or less made. I don't think anyone is going to change their attitude after about 20, 25 years. And therefore, all these 25 years of the life, and that is what we used to do in our ancient system of Gurukula, where a child at the age of 8 was sent to Gurukula, and he used to come back fully geared up, prepared in all domains of knowledge. Madam also talked about information, knowledge, and wisdom. So yeah, this is another area which I used to always talk in my talks. And that mental makeup is made by the gurus, and the shishas imbibe the qualities of the gurus, and that is how the whole lifespan of the person takes on. And in our modern system, although there are no gurukulas, the colleges and universities, and as well as the schools, the way we operate, how we train our teachers is also very significant and important to make them nationalistic, to make them humane. I think our Universal Human Values program, which we have inducted as a student induction program, not only that, in all such FDPs of Atal Academy also, we have been saying that at least one module out of those 14 should be on values. And that mental makeup is to be created by what we say as propositions, not forcing. People have to do self introspection. People will have to understand themselves by internalizing what all is being said there as to what is my role and how can I हिंदी में बोलते हैं मैं मेरा रोल सही ढंग से अदा कर रहा हूं कि नहीं कर रहा हूं. I think this one has to think oneself. That is self introspection. I think that realization is important, and that's why the mental plane, there is a huge responsibility on all educational institutions, and the new national education policy certainly talks about all of these things in the mental plane. And beyond mental plane comes the spiritual plane. I think all of us know that, from our body and mind to soul, all these connections are very, very important. And only through yoga, meditation, one can certainly realize that every human being is divine. Everyone has that, what we say, Paramatma ka ansh hota hai. So how we realize it and then help each other, I think that is what is required. And if all of this, the entire universe, entire globe, all the countries of the world start doing it, I'm sure there will be no need of a Rashtriya Raksha University. Although till such time, it's a long time. We are still in the beginning, so maybe it will take how many years, I do not know. But till then, the role of Rashtriya Raksha University is important. But we have to protect ourselves, and that's why physical, mental, and spiritual, and therefore spiritual part is important. If we develop that attitude right from childhood, and that spirituality in terms of integral humanism, that will slowly go to the mental plane, and from mental plane, the physical activities that we perform, they will always be positive. There will be never a negative activity performed by us. And therefore, in Rashtriya Raksha University, there must be a module on, or for all the programs. You talked about 10 different types of schools. In each school, couple of courses have to be mandatory on spiritual, on mental, and how we take care of them. If someone is misguided, how do we bring back? People who have got habits of alcoholism or drug, we say rehab centers. We have different types of rehab centers. So even before someone gets into that mold, how do we prevent it? Prevention is better than cure, and therefore your program must have elements of giving spiritualism through yoga meditation. And in the mental plane, if someone is misguided, how do we bring them back to the track? And thereby, the physical actions of these individuals also will be always positive. I think this is what is very, very important. We also talked about, as I said, information is available today much easier. In our times, when I was student, we had only one source of information other than the teachers, that was a library. And the library was also not as enriched as it is today. And therefore, if our college or our school or university does not have a particular book, we used to borrow it from some other university for a temporary purpose and then return it. And those were the days which are gone. Now today, information is available at fingertips, on the mobile, on the laptop, on the PC. And you just Google and you get hundreds and thousands of variety of information on that particular topic of your interest. But that information has to be distilled in the form of knowledge. And the only person that one can do is the teacher. And therefore, we have a great role to play by the teachers, our faculty members, and we need to train our faculty members. So this FDP is also one such mechanism of training of our faculty members, which you are rightly doing it. And then having got that knowledge is not enough. You have to keep on doing research and convert that knowledge into wisdom. And only when it is in the form of wisdom, which our gurus or Shrestha gurus will give it to the disciples, Shishas, then Shishas will also become fully endowed with this information, to knowledge, to wisdom. But that is not enough. This wisdom ultimately is not theoretically required to be in our storage of brain, but it has to be used for the social good. And that is where, again, our physical, mental, spiritual aspects come in. So that knowledge has to be fully utilized for our well-being, for the society's well-being, for protecting the environment and protecting the unprotected. रक्षा बंधन का कल का संदेश यही था कि हम तो जो जिसके हाथ में ताकत है वो खुद को तो अपने को ठीक संभाल सकता है, लेकिन for example, a small girl child, whenever we hear stories that someone is raped on the street, etc., it is so pitiful that why someone is murdered on the street, someone meets an accident and we don't want to take that person to the hospital. I think this is human value which we have to inculcate, and I'm sure your program, which is a holistic program, will give all of this thought to our faculty members, who in turn will make use of this knowledge in their respective colleges and spread a word about this and try to do research, have collaboration with Rashtriya Raksha University and continue with that. इसके साथ मैं बधाई देता हूँ और सारे all the international experts who are joining in this program. Our philosophy of India, Bharat, is that of Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu. We want the whole world to be happy, as well as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is one family.
One.
Message also we have to keep doing.